The James Show Podcast.
Hey there, Brian Kilmeade now on The James Show. You know him from Fox and Friends and from our sister station, KLIF 570 AM and 96.3 FM HD2. Brian, you're coming to town. Let's go ahead and get it right out because that's what people want to know most. When are you going to be in Dallas again?
Well, I mean, I'm going to land Friday night, but I can't wait for the show on Saturday. And it's history, liberty, and laughs. So what I've been trying to do is taking the 7 history books, I've been taking the 2 sports books, instead of waiting to, I apologize, I'm at LaGuardia Airport, and they like to honk in New York. But I just said, what if I put together a show that, in a fun way, lets people know how great this country is and what the stories of our past. And now we're coming up on year 250, and it's changed so much. It went from fighting to let people know how special the country is in our country, but now I think momentum is on our side, that if people are starting to appreciate how great our country is. And that's what I want to tap into Texas. I did Sam Houston, the Alamo Avengers, but I started with George Washington's Secret Six and Thomas Jefferson, the Tripoli Pirates, our first war on terror, Andrew Jackson, and the War of 1812 and the Battle of New Orleans. And then I went to Sam Houston, and I just want to go through time and tell our story.
So what are the other 2 books? I just counted 5.
You got the President and Freedom Fighter, Abraham Lincoln, Frederick Douglass, and the Battle for America's Soul.
Okay.
And then you have Teddy and Booker T.
How long?
Not many people know. Not many people know that those 2, fighting against segregation and moving our country forward, worked together. And they couldn't have a more diverse background. If you look at Booker T, he was born a slave. Look at Teddy Roosevelt. He had rich, but he almost died because his asthma was so severe, heart ailments. And they overcame whatever they did to come together at the right time. And I thought that would be a good combination. I think it's been well received, and I'll talk about that too.
Well, we're talking with Brian Kilmeade from our sister station, KLIF, and also Fox and Friends. So, Brian Kilmeade, when you talk about doing a live show, who's on stage with you? What happens? How long does it last?
Well, I mean, we're going to be about 2.5 hours, and VIP starts a little early, so you go to briankilmeade.com and you can get there. This is the biggest VIP we've ever had. I've had over 100 people now. And this is the Winspear Theater, the AT&T Performing Arts Center. Winspear just looks huge. And it'll be the biggest venue we've ever played at. Will Kane's going to be joining me, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. We're going to factor them into their sports backgrounds as well as I'm going to tap into their acting ability. We take some of these moments and we bring them to life in a fun, comedic way. So most people just say it is so much more than they expected. And we're going to stream on Fox Nation, too.
That's incredible. All right, Brian Kilmeade, he's going to be in town this Saturday, August 23rd. And tickets, go to WBAP.com. We have the links to your tickets now. Perfect. Yeah, so we can take care of that for you. Just WBAP.com. Brian Kilmeade, let's talk about the news of the day. Russia Trump summit plus the Ukraine Trump summit. Where do you think we stand now? Are we closer to peace?
Yeah, sure. I mean, all the players are there. What this is, they told us about shuttle diplomacy when in the 70s, and Kissinger would just relentlessly fly back and forth to these Arab capitals and Israel and just demand they move forward incrementally. And that's what Trump's doing. He's like, I'll see you in Alaska, and I'll see you in the White House. Friday, we want to get a trilateral going. If not, we're going to do it in Budapest, Hungary. And maybe we meet with Putin again. He is just determined to move this thing forward. Now, I could go over and bore people and tell you about the different lands, but it bothers me fundamentally that this aggressive power, unprovoked, decides to take 20% of a country, and you can't really, unless we want to get directly involved, you got to really hope to freeze the land. What I think is a bridge too far is give them land they have not earned and can't win on the battlefield. And that's what Putin wants, because he's a thug. He's our modern generation. He's gotten America. He's gotten our allies to fully realize how dangerous this world is, and they're finally investing in their own defense because of Vladimir Putin.
Well, Brian Kilmeade, one of the other big political stories in Texas right now is we're in the redistricting fight. We had some of our state representatives flee to avoid the vote on it. I think the map's eventually going to pass, but did Texas accidentally start a new nationwide trend where we're going to see a bunch of states do mid-decade redistricting? I
do. I think that the Democrats have something to run on. They're dying for something. Epstein, give them something. So they see, okay, Gavin Newsom looking to get elected, but not running on his record. If you talk to people in California, the governor of California is hideous. He's 38% approval rating. Almost everything he does is blown up in his face. Everything he's promised has not come out. They burn the cities to the ground, and they don't rebuild. They don't get green light permits, and yet Gavin Newsom wants to be president. Well, how do you do that? Well, you just say, I'm going to run against Trump. He's using this as an opportunity to do that, run against Trump. So that's what he's going to try to do. But I think California's really played their hand already. Schwarzenegger's going to dig in. He's popular too. I'm not sure if the referendum that you guys can do this in Texas, but in California they can't. So they have to pass a referendum to get rid of the provision that says an independent council will district and not redistrict. When it's time to do it, it'll be independents that do it. Now you're going to try to do it in Illinois. You've already done it. You're going to try to do it in Massachusetts. They have no seats in Massachusetts. They're going to try to do it in Maryland. You've already done it. What I think the Republicans' hand to play is Missouri and Florida. So is this a fight worthwhile? As Mark Penn said on my radio show today, Mark Penn says, look, I'm a Democrat, but this has already been redistricted in the Democrats' favor. The census did not go well, pandemic, whatever it was. It says the Republicans are fundamentally across the country undercounted by about 20%. So these guys are trying to straighten it out. People might not like the methods, but it's going to be 4 or 5 seats that decides the balance of play in the House. And it matters so much to Trump's last 2 years.
Brian Kilmeade, let's end on a bragging topic. I hope you don't mind me the shining your shoes a little bit, but what's the streak for Fox and Friends? Y'all have been number one for how many months? Because I remember doing this about 6 months ago, and you were at like 72 months or something ridiculous. What is your winning streak at these days?
You know what? I don't even know. I just know I think the show's never been better. I think we got a great crop of producers. You know, the producers do it all. I mean, we get all the credit, but the producers do the work. And we got a great team. I think it's, 3 of us on the couch. Steve is out and about. I think it's leaned everything out. And I think what we try to do, and what we do on the radio regularly, which is no script. You don't have a script in front of you. You have to think about what's important. You got to know your stuff. Fox and Friends is the closest thing to radio, where you have notes and you got leads in the prompter, but you talk. And I think that's the key. We're like 3 normal people who have a huge passion for the news, but don't take ourselves seriously. I really don't. I mean, I just do the best I can. I make a mistake. You move on. And Fox kind of set it up that way. They don't hire established, arrogant talent that's coming here as a big favor. They see talent and they kind of coach it. And that's what happens. And then people are so thankful to be at the number one station and to be at the number one show. You get a teamwork attitude that you usually only find when you play sports.
All right, so come out and see Brian Kilmeade. He'll be in Dallas this Saturday, August 23rd, downtown at the AT&T Performing Arts Center. He's doing his big tour. The Fox and Friends host a History, Liberty, and Laughs tour. Brian Kilmeade, thank you very much for your time again. Don't forget, you can also hear him on our sister station after the morning show on KLIF when Clayton and Sybil sign off. Brian Kilmeade takes over for a couple hours there, so you can hear him there, too. We're going to start off exactly where we left off on yesterday's show, and it's all about Russia right now. It's all about Russia, Ukraine, and the other European leaders all come together. And, I was optimistic going into this meeting, because it started with the summit that happened on Friday and the meetings that continued yesterday. There was more meetings today, which I think is another good sign. But I think it's also optimistic that so many people are saying the same things. So many people in a position of power when it comes to Russia, Ukraine. We had the Secretary General of NATO chilling in there. We had the German Chancellor. We had Starmer from the UK. We had the lady Maloney from, isn't that her name, Maloney, from Italy. We even had the dude from Finland in there, and they were all singing from the same sheet of music. Now, either they're all doing some sort of coordinated song and dance or progress is being made. Do I know? Heck no. I'm just some guy in Dallas like you. But generally speaking, there's all kinds of little forks in the road that could have made this thing, turn out a little sour. Maybe there wasn't a nice friendly handshake on the tarmac. Maybe there wasn't going to be, a red carpet or even the fact that they had a press conference, that they had the meeting. all the signs point to some level of positivity. Now, did the whole thing get wrapped up in a couple of meetings? Absolutely not. Did anybody think it would? Well, I mean, possible, but not probable. So generally speaking, I'm pretty happy with this. Now, on the local front, when you look at, half of what this show isn't just the news, but also how people around here are reacting to the news. That's a fun place to be in, because you do have some people that, they're just so anti-Trump that they don't want him to get a win, even if it means, saving lives during a war. And you know what the criticism is. I was playing some of it for you yesterday, but a couple of things that haven't been highlighted much on WBAP that I wanted to put in front of you. Number one is, let's go straight to the polls and see what the Ukrainians are thinking these days. What's in their heads? Because you're not directly affected by the Russia-Ukraine war. I'm not. Russia is. Ukraine is. But let's see. Harry Enton, he is one of the pollsters on CNN. And I want you, he talks really fast here. The graph that you can't see shows the poll results from the Ukrainians when asked on two very important questions in 2022, a year into the war, and then again this year in 2025. And they're asked, is it okay to give up land? And they're also asked, do you still want to be at war for as long as it takes? And they have moved. They have moved in their court of public opinion drastically.
The idea that Ukraine's going to achieve complete victory, that idea has collapsed within Ukrainian society. What are we talking about here? Ukrainians on the war versus Russia. You go back to 2022, the start of the war. Fight until Ukraine wins. Look at this. The vast majority, about 73%, agreed with that position. Negotiate to end the war as soon as possible, only 22%. Look at where we are now. It's a complete flip. It's the inverse. Now 69% want to negotiate to end the war as soon as possible, compared to just 24% who want to fight until Ukraine wins. That's a 49-point drop in this position. Now, of course, negotiating to end the war as soon as possible, that's a bit more nuanced, right? Ukrainians don't want to agree to all of Russia's demand, but I think the idea of even there being some territory that would be not formally recognized as being given that Russia could in fact stay in, that does have majority support, but the idea of formal recognition of Russia's demands, absolutely not.
Now, I find that fascinating. Because if the Ukrainian people don't want to fight this tooth and nail and not give up any land and just keep fighting forever until Putin's defeated, if the Ukrainian people don't want to, then what are we doing? Are the only people that want this forever war against Putin and not to give up an inch of a postage stamp worth of Ukrainian territory? Is this just now the only people that hold this opinion? Are they on MSNBC? Is that the only people who are holding this opinion now? Because we're getting into a weird ethics gray area here. If you're saying we got to keep supporting a war that even the people on the ground don't want. Hey, we got to save Ukraine. Ukraine doesn't want to be saved. Hey, we've got to back Ukraine no matter what it takes. What if they don't want that? Unfortunately, they didn't realize this 3 years ago, and so they've had to endure 400,000 casualties in Ukraine. 950,000 casualties is our best estimate coming out of Russia. And when I say casualties, I don't mean dead. I mean dead or wounded enough that they're taken off the battlefield. So yeah, having 400 million of your neighbors either dead or seriously injured, that'll change some opinions. People's opinion of war is noticeably different when they're at war versus not at war. And you can just imagine why. Yeah, war sounds good when you're not in a war. And then ending a war sounds good when you're in a war. So that's where we're at now. A couple of fun sound bites I thought you would enjoy. I picked up Ted Cruz talking to Jesse Waters last night because he was making some of the same observations. It's like, man, you have a big chunk of the political establishment and media rooting against peace.
Jesse, people used to say politics end at the water's edge. Unfortunately, today's Democrats, they hate Donald Trump so much that they are openly rooting for the president to fail. They're openly rooting for this war to continue forever. They don't want peace, and that is sad. We should all want peace in Ukraine. I believe we're going to see that, and I think President Trump is doing everything humanly possible to achieve that peace. And not a single Democrat is cheering him on. They're all rooting for America to fail. That's really sad.
I think I finally found a name I like for him. What do you think of fleabaggers? You know, the people, the representatives that didn't want to vote on the redistricting map, so they broke a quorum and went out of state for a while there. Flee, instead of F-L-E-A, it's F-L-E-E. See what I did there? Brilliant. No applause? Okay, never mind. I'm going to say it anyway, see if it catches on. But they're back in the Texas House, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you the conclusion before I give you the exposition. Just know at the end of this story, both sides of the political aisle should be absolutely livid with their parties. I have a hard time seeing how Republicans vote for Republicans. I have a hard time seeing how my Democrat friends vote for the Democrats. And I think both of them are the majority of their vote is based on antipathy for the opposing party, more so than love of the party they actually support. And I think this is a great example. This is a great example. So now that I've given you the context, let me fill in the bowl. So they come back, and they're told yesterday that, listen, glad you're here. We're going to reconvene and push through some of these votes in a session on Wednesday, tomorrow. And in the meantime, since you guys have already demonstrated that you're a flight risk because you already fled and came back, you're going to have to sign this piece of paper saying you promise not to take off. And you also have to have to be surveilled, to be monitored by a DPS officer. Well, one woman took a stand and said, well, I'm not going to do that. And they're like, well, then you can't leave the house. She's like, fine, I'm not going to leave the house. Her name's Nicole Collier. She's a state representative out of Tarrant County, so she's within the WBAP listening family. And she spent the night on the floor of the Texas House of Representatives. She had her little night mask on. She live streamed the whole thing. You can go to her Twitter account right now and back it up. Dude, she's been there 13 hours and 4 minutes just to start this live stream. And you can go backwards through it. And I saw she was like in a chair, leaned back, and she had her eye cover on, and she's wearing civilian clothes as far as I could tell. You know, not like a muumuu or a nightgown or something. But I also saw like some guy early this morning going through with the vacuum to clean the place up. How would you like to be woken up at work by the vacuum guy? But you go check it out right now. She's still live streaming, and nothing's going to be happening until tomorrow. So I think she's just doing a little bit of urban camping. Hope someone brought her a toothbrush, or she's going to have some dragon breath. But here's the report. Here's somewhat of an explanation here from our news partners over at WFAA.
Spending 2 weeks outside the state fighting congressional redistricting. Tonight, one Democrat is spending the night inside the Texas Capitol. State Rep Nicole Collier represents part of Fort Worth and has chosen to stay inside the House chambers. Let's show you a live feed from the Texas House Democratic Caucus, where we have watched Representative Collier locked in the chamber there in process.
Hang on. No, I'll let them finish the report. What you can't see on the TV right now is WFAA, and I imagine other TV stations are doing this. At the bottom of it, they're scrolling her social media contact information, like how to find her on Facebook, how to find her on TikTok, how to find her on Instagram. Support Rep Collier. Visit NicoleCollier.com. This is a damn political ad masquerading as news for this lady. So not only are they not being punished, not only is there no negative consequences to them fleeing for 2 weeks, and what avoiding what? Democracy? What? I thought we were the threats to democracy. I thought Donald Trump was a threat to democracy. But somehow, state representatives abandoning their posts, leaving the state illegally, refusing to return, that's not a threat to democracy? Oh, no, you're saving democracy by not allowing votes to happen? What the hell sense does that make? And then I got to turn on the TV and looks like an ad for it. So not only, and I don't really fault WFAA much for this. You know who I fault? The Republicans who are running the House. You know, they did something illegal. There was a threat to arrest them. You now have them in front of you. Arrest them. Charge them with something. At least take away their parking spot. But if they're not going to lose their seat, if they're not going to be arrested, if they're not going to be charged for a crime, the only real negative consequences are these little financial paper cuts. Not only are you not disincentivizing this, you are incentivizing this behavior in the future. And so now we're kind of getting to the conclusion here, because the Texas House Democratic Caucus put out a ridiculous press conference. Texas House Rep Nicole Collier detained as political prisoner on the Texas House floor for refusing Republican surveillance protocol. Oh, she's a political prisoner now. She has such a hard time. She has to sit in a safe, giant room because she chairs all the food. She has her cell phone. She's live streaming the damn thing. I mean, do we really consider political prisoner here? You're in the state capitol. You can leave at any time. All you got to do is sign a piece of paper and agree to have a cop watch you so you don't do what you did for the last 2 weeks. Yeah, it's real tough. So, Republicans, you should be really just livid at your leadership and the Republican Party in the state of Texas. They're not doing anything to these people. They talked so much game over the last 2 weeks, and now they have the chance to follow up on it. They're not following up on any of it. That's disgusting. That's lying. Whoever did that just lied to you and me for the last 2 weeks. You should remember who did that, and we're going to primary the snot out of these people next year. If you're a Democrat voter, how livid are you with the Democrat Party? So what was all that running for the last 2 weeks? If democracy was in the balance, if our entire country was in the balance, then why'd you come back? Why are you going to do the quorum? Why are you going to let them vote on it? Why don't you stay out? I thought everything hung in the balance. Well, that's weird. Because you should have already been questioning their earnestness when they fled over a redistricting map, when they prevented a quorum over a map that could cause not even them, some of their friends in their party to lose their seats. They didn't run for you, Democrat voters. They didn't run for you when abortion was getting restricted, did they? Did they run for you when it came to school choice or when it came to property taxes or when it came to any of these other actual policy positions, principles that you hold dear? No, they didn't run then. They just ran when there was a threat to their political power. You should be livid. Both sides, Team Red and Team Blue, y'all both just got sold out by your respective political parties. And look at you, just like a whipped dog. Y'all are going to go back to supporting them just the same tomorrow, aren't you? I don't get it. Republicans should be livid for allowing them to run in the first place when they had the quorum on the Monday of the first special session, and they just said, okay, we're going to talk for 13 minutes and we're going to adjourn until Thursday. You gave them an out. Then you talked a lot of smack while they were gone for 2 weeks, and now that they're back, zero negative consequences. I don't buy it. Y'all either knew it was theater, or you coordinated it was theater, or you'd have the memory of a goldfish. You have the memory of a ferret on a double cappuccino. I'm not buying it. Democrats, you have reason, Democrat voters, I should say, you have reason to be livid with your party. After all that noise, they're going to run away for 2 weeks saying this is so fundamental. This is so important. We can't allow a quorum. And then they're just going to come back and let it happen anyway. I thought democracy was hanging in the balance. So what was all that for? Was that just for show? You were just going to stay away? Did you know you were going to stay for a week or two and then come back? Or did you mean it when you said, we'll stay out as long as possible to prevent literally Hitler from gaining? Both of y'all, look, behind closed doors, these people are friends. Behind closed doors, I've seen it with my own eyes. Go to Pennsylvania Avenue, and in Pennsylvania Avenue is just that diagonal street that pretty much connects the White House to the Capitol building where the Senate and House meet. And along that are little restaurants and cafes and bars, and I went into a cigar bar one time, Pennsylvania Avenue. I was just down there because I was working at the satellite radio, and some of our hosts were speaking at some event, blah, blah, blah. But I go into this cigar bar. I don't even remember what it's called, like Sabrina's or something. It's real pedestrian. And you see these people that you see on TV, and they're hanging out, and they're slapping each other on the back, and they're getting drinks together. No, you're on my tab. And so, like, the big players are sitting at their tables, with the other big players, and then their staffs are sitting at the table with the other staffs. Like your chief of staff will be talking to someone else's chief of staff. And it was one big political orgy. And we'll just leave the metaphor at that. John, Dallas, you're on WBAP.
James, I totally hear what you're saying. I really do. But we don't need to give them any more cannon fodder.
Them? Who is them?
Well, the other side. If you want to say the blue or the red, I'm talking about the blue in this case. You don't want to give them that cannon fodder if we start, arresting people. That
Sure you do.
That gives them more. That gives them more ammo to say, look, see, they're more of this or they're more of that. I think let's be the bigger ones, take the higher road, and let them know we're not going to deal with this anymore in this way. If y'all do it again, we pull it off.
Look, strategically, you may be right, but I also remember for the last 2 weeks, that's not what they said. For the last 2 weeks, they were talking mad trash about how they're threatening arrest and there's going to be severe consequences. If you're going to do the magnanimous thing and just, out of sense of a pragmatism, like, let's not put them in cuffs, let's just wait them out and we'll get our maps anyway. Well, then don't lie to my face for the last 2 weeks and act like you're some Billy Badass.
You're right, but politicians talk a big game. We know that, both sides. But I agree with you. I'm tired of the back and forth. Got to clean it up.
I hear you. All right, good stuff, John. Thank you. This is Matthew in Denton. You're on WBAP. Go.
It is despicable what they have both done, and I'm very much like you. I'm an American. I don't identify as Republican or Democrat, although I have friends that will call me both. And at the end of the day, the politicians that somehow get elected, and I think you nailed it earlier when you stated you're voting against a different party, not necessarily for a candidate. I would argue that outside of a few congressional candidates and the president, very few Americans have any clue who they vote for. And if you have the media who will continue to pop up, really puff up an issue, where's that issue in 4 days? Gone. It's forgotten about. And politicians and the media rely on Americans and people that are... All
right, Matthew, I've got like 30 seconds, but I like where you're going. I just want to know, how would you fix this? How would you point us in the right direction, Matthew?
Well, I mean, we saw it in Texas. Neither side really wants to move forward. We need people at the grassroots level that can go in and do what Trump does. Unfortunately, there's only one of him.
Okay. All right. Well, let's continue this discussion here. Thank you, Matthew and Denton. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Okay. So now we all agree. Both political parties are corrupt and not worthy of your vote. How do you fix it? I'll share my ideas next on The James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.